This conference will now be recorded.
As you all know, today's topic is construction safety from Yates' book, chapter number 23. And I think you all aware about the rule of the today's session. Everybody has to ask 5 questions. So if anyone know the answer, he can send in comments A. After sending, he has to answer. In case of wrong answer, uh, there will be negative marking. Shall I go through the rules of today's session, or it is everybody understood? Everybody is aware of the rules, today's session rules, or I have to go through the rules?
Yeah, please maybe revised one time.
Okay. The rule number 1 is one question will be asked by each person until the first person turns come back. This is rule number 1. You have to ask one question, and after asking question, you have to wait for your turn. Rule number 2. In the comment box, who will write A? You have to write A. The first person who will write A, he has to give the answer of the question. If the question is, if the answer is correct, then okay. If the answer is wrong, then we'll move to the next person who commented A. Rule number 3. In case of wrong answer, 3 points will be deducted. Okay, rule number 4. 5 marks will be given for correct answer. And rule number 5. Question will start with what, where, when, how. And please avoid asking why and how, because the answer will become lengthy. Rule number 6. 2 marks will be given for asking a question. Is that clear? There are 6 rules. Everybody has to ask 5 questions. He has to ask 1 question, and then again he has to wait for his turn. If you know the answer, please write in comments A. If you don't know the answer, don't write, because if the answer is wrong, 5 marks will be deducted. Is that clear?
Actually, I have one question.
Yeah.
I prepared only two questions only on this topic because I came just now from my office. So 5 questions is not with me. So I am eligible to be there in the session or not?
Mushtaq Shaikh.
Yes.
Yeah. This topic is construction safety. This is very famous topic.
Construction safety only I have all. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very famous topic. Like we have like around 7 subheadings or subtitle. Like we have to answer about excavation, electrical safety, scaffold, crane and derrick rail safety, welding, cutting and brazing, hand and power tool, housekeeping. So you have almost 2.5 hours. Okay, you can start preparing other
Oh, okay,
3
no
questions.
problem. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Okay. as I am the host today, so I think I should begin with myself. Is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah, no problem, Asghar sir. You can start from yourself.
Yeah. The one thing more, try to focus on tricky question, because this is a like construction safety. Everybody is aware about of the rules and regulation of construction safety. So if the question is tricky, so so it will like create some confusion, or so somebody has to think. So better to like ask tricky question. Okay, my first question. We have different is this related to excavation? We have different types of soils, like A, B, and C. So my question is that what could change the soil classification? What are the like causes, or what factors could affect the soil classification? If you
Please
don't
see your comment box. Please open the comment box. Actually, if you don't open the comment box, then we cannot understand. Like for
yeah,
example, I have sent A.
yeah. If somebody don't understand the question, I can repeat the question. We have soil classification for excavation: soil A, soil B, soil C, like types of soil. So what are the factors that could change the soil's classification? Mr. Jawad, he wrote A. Anybody else?
Yeah, the first one who has actually wrote, then he will be eligible to give answer. If
Yeah,
my question is wrong, then the other person will come.
yeah, correct.
So
So
I just understood this. Okay,
yeah,
the classification of soil can be changed like by the weather conditions, by underground water, and the vibration. So these are the basic things which actually change the soil classification.
yeah, the
And there can be the
answer
other
is
parameters
correct.
also.
Yeah. If you can please elaborate your answer for little
Yeah,
for
so yeah, the reason is this. So for example, for the soil, why the actually like vibration? Because the vibration when happen, mostly the soil, they are, it's cohesive in nature. So it is made up of different part things like the silts, granules, clay. So it is an amalgamation of many things. When the vibration is there, so these these silts and the granules, they begin to separate from one another. For example, if it is a class B type, but they begin to separate, then it will become very loose and it will become less cohesive and less its the penetration power. Okay, so due to this reason, it will be converted into the class C. So this is just like in the vibration. Like for the underground water, the water, for example, what does the water? When the water is there, so it also tries to absorb. No, it does not absorb. Yeah, solute or dissolute different types of the like same things, the granules, the clay, etc. So in this way, the particles will be separated and they begin to suspend, and the classification of this soil will be changed. It will become less cohesive, and there are also some other classes of this soil, like if it is a dry clay type, but dry clay, but it's not the granule one. If you put water in it, then it can also become very cohesive. Then it may also move to A class, from B to A class. So these are the actual reasons which convert the soil from one classification to the other classification. The weather conditions are also there. Like if it is hot, like in Saudi Arabia, for example, if it in the hot, the evaporation is more, then the water will be evaporated from there. So it will become more brittle. So when it will become brittle, its cohesive nature that will be decreased. So it means that its classification can be changed. Like if it is the wet, the classification will be different. So it depends upon the situation, whether it's dry or not, and how you are going to make use of this.
correct. Anybody else want to comment?
Uh, Okay, it's mean we can say any factor which can affect the strength of the ground. He can change the class of the soil.
Yes, agreed with Mr. Jawad and Mr. Abdul Ghaffar. Any environmental factor, it could change the classification.
Can I,
It can change the classification of the soil. I agreed with that.
Uh,
I think
uh,
Mr. Jawad
can I,
Bhai is totally explained this question. I think no more pending from my end.
can,
Uh,
can I
they
add
yes,
something to this?
Yeah, please.
sure, you can.
uh, Myself, Mushtaq. Actually, it is out of my experience in construction field, which I like to add. I agree with Mr. Imran and this regarding the environmental factors. So we had in soil types, we have one we call it moron rock. Okay, this moron rock when we dig, it is like a hard rock, but during rainy season, like when there is a heavy rains, or because in like climatic conditions like in India, so when we have heavy rains, there is some kind of water percolation into this area wherever the soil and earth is there. So what happens due to water percolations, and it goes into that area, and once the sun comes, this becomes brittle, as he has mentioned earlier in his discussion. So at that point, because of water percolation, the huge bulk will be at the upper end, and when we dig this one, we are already in a dig condition. So huge mountain kind of pieces fall down onto the persons or the people who are working at the lower level. So most probably what he has said, that the environmental conditions. So one is the water percolation into that, and the second one is the it becoming brittle and due to the sun rays. So in this we have this sliding down of the huge masses. Like there will be a weakest point. At the weakest point, if the load is at the higher end, and at the lower, what they say, the forces are acting at a one weakest point, then this will topple the whole mass onto the person.
Okay, correct, Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh. I will add one more thing to this. We have one bridge and tunnel projects here in Jeddah with the Jeddah municipality. Actually, we have sea very near to like the city, and in the design, this water, groundwater, nobody care about this during the design phase, and later on when they started excavation. So when they start excavation, after 3 or 4 meter, water accumulates. So due to this water accumulation, it took 1 year more completion, 1 year more whole of the project, and it also affect the cost of the project. So soil classification is very important.
So
Anybody?
water accumulation that had been done. You mean to say it was being excavated, and after excavation, the water began to accumulate there from the whereabouts. Like it's something like a capillary action.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, Muhammad Asghar, but there is no criteria. Sorry, there is no method adopted to uh, drain the water, or to drain out the water from that excavation. Because in the concession site, we have to provide some solution about that. If the water is accumulated in the excavation, so you need to be adopted some method to drain out that. So this is another thing to I think do the we can reduce the hazards. This is another thing. What do you think about that?
Can I speak?
Planning
Yes,
failure.
Mr. Abdul Munif.
In this case, you need to provide something called the dewatering system. Okay, you have to assign some competent subcontractors who have the motors and have piles with tubes to put it as per the geometric test of the soil. In geometric test of the soil, he will identify for you where is the water. Okay, where is the place of the water in the place of the project. So he will insert this tube and he will start to make something like network and will start to make dewatering and extract the water from the excavation. So in this case, another issue you have to looking for where you will through this water. So you have to take some permission from the environmental area to put in some sanitation line or something like that. Okay. In addition, this dewatering system should be completed until you finish your work inside the excavation. Okay. So after you finish your work inside the excavation, you can remove the dewatering system. But some people say it, okay, I will make the dewatering system and I will wait the excavation will become dry and I will remove it. No, when you remove it, the water will come again. Okay. So in this case, I think you need, or because of my experience, you need to keep this dewatering system until you finish what you are going to do in this excavation. Foundation, laying some pipeline or cabling, anything. What you are going to finish, then you can remove and put your covering everything, and then you can remove the dewatering system.
Yeah, Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah, let me explain one thing. There are like two factors. One is normal dewatering, normal, but the water here in our project, it was like too much water, everywhere water. When they start excavating, everywhere water. It was like beyond their thinking, and it was like unexpected. So as Mr. Muhammad said, they hire a special company for dewatering. And the other thing, as Mr. Muhammad said, there is no area for drainage, so they took special permission from Jeddah municipality. They created a separate dewatering line, so it took almost 1 year. Okay, I think this is clear. We can move to our next friend, Mr. Noman Adil. Your question, please. Mr. Noman Adil, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I am not prepared so far. I was busy in office, but I tried. I will try to my best regarding safety, construction safety. Which sort of question do you like?
Any question related to construction safety? Any question you can ask. And you,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, you prepare your question. We will move to next, Mr. Mustaq Shaikh. Mr. Mustaq Shaikh, your question, please. Mr. Mustaq Shaikh, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I did not on the speaker. Sorry. Okay. As per the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which one of the following hazard contributes to the highest percentage of construction fatalities? Like which is the one which considered as highest number of construction fatalities? So like if you have an option like contact with objects and equipments and falls. Second one is like falls, and third one is like transportation related fatalities, and fourth one is like fires and explosion.
Okay, I think question is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to comment A if you know the answer. So far we got only
Mr.
one.
Shaikh, Mr. Shaikh, yeah, you have to please the person who is posing the question. He should identify who sent him the first. Answer. Maybe because two people might have sent it together, but one person was received bit earlier. So the justice will be balanced when Mr. Shaikh will actually identify who gave the answer first. I mean the question, or who wrote down A first.
Yeah, actually, by Mr. Jawad Raza, actually, that's given first one.
Okay. Again, I have been because the first one in construction, actually, construction, it's fall in the construction field, and the followed by this with the equipment, like hit by some equipment, etc. But in the general industry, it is actually the transportation fatalities, the number one. But in construction, it is the fall from height.
Exactly, you're correct. Actually, this is why I asked is because there is a confusion between falls and the transport related fatalities. As you said, in all industries, when we consider all industries, the transport related fatalities is the first one. It comes to the first highest number. And when we are talking about construction industry, falls will be at the highest percentage for the fatalities. And
Correct.
if the question, and if it is asked for the least, then we can consider fires and explosion as the least one in construction industry.
Anyone want to add something more?
One thing I just want to add, maybe in the ASP, CSP, there will be an exam, there will be a question like which one of the, I mean, these factors are the second, which one of the factors raised to the fatalities on the second number. So the question also comes like this in the general industry. So that's why they regard it as a, this one, I mean, this violations. I mean, this assaults, etc. It's actually the third one, mainly in the general industry. This is the third one, but they make a question something like this: that after having done in transportation, and after that it will be the I think contact with objects. After having the contact with the objects, which one is the factor for the more fatalities in the general industry? Then we can put it as a assault, okay, or some violations. Revolted by the people, but the fall comes on the fourth number actually in the general industry.
Mr. Jawad, I want to ask one thing.
Yeah,
You talked about the traffic accident, right?
yeah, it's in the general industry. It's the transportation related.
Yeah, it is not related to construction industry.
Yeah, in the construction industry, it's not related because
Yeah,
it is construction. It is the second one actually.
second one. Okay. Okay, we'll move to next. Muhammad Imran Aslam. Sir, your question.
My question is related to
Not Muhammad
excavation.
Muhammad Imran
Sorry.
Aslam.
Okay, you can. Yes, carry on, please.
Okay, thank you. My question is related to the excavation. Uh, what is the difference between sloping, shoring, benching, and one thing is also related to shielding?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
So type A. Type A if you know the answer, if you want to give answer. Again, Mr. Jawad Raza. We received
Sir,
A from Mr.
I think I should not put now A. I have to wait actually for this thing, but I just quickly just put A. Now I should wait for some person. But if somebody wants me to give the answer for this question, then I will try to give answer for this question. Okay, this time I have put A. Next time I will take care to, I mean, put some pause. Okay, the difference between the benching, shoring, shielding, and the sloping. The thing is this: mostly the sloping and the benching that is made for class A and the class sorry, benching cannot be made for class C, but in benching what we do, after a certain distance we make the steps, okay, but it also should be in the angular form also. If we made specify the angle with the induction of the steps inside it, this is called the benching. Okay, but if we are not going to include any step 8 state and we are going to put the angles only, I mean we are going to make a cutting or excavation from the sides in the angular form, then we have to call it a sloping. Like for example, for hard rock, this is like for the 90. For A class, it is almost 53 degree. And let me remember. Yeah, like for class B, it's the 1/1 also, and ratio will be there, and it will be almost 45. And for class C, the benching will be almost 34 degree, and the sloping will actually not be there in class C. Okay. Sorry, benching will not be in class C, benching. And what is the shoring? Shoring is actually by putting these some studs, some, uh, rods, plan sort of thing, just to keep the soil from cave in. Okay, mostly it is used when the vertical type of the soil is there, excavation is there. Okay, then we are going for the shoring, and it is actually it actually balances by putting one rod on one rectangular body by putting some struts on the edges to keep the load on both edges of the excavation. Okay, so this is called the shoring, and confining is actually by putting some person inside a this shielding, by putting some person inside a shield. The shield can be open from the top, but its sides and its bottom, that will be closed, and the excavation depth should not be more than 2 feet when the person is put inside the shield. Okay, this is
Like
actually
both
my answer.
Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh, you want to say anything? Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh,
no,
please
one
mute your
second.
mic because it is disturbing everybody. Please mute your mic. Thank you. Yes, anybody wants to add anything to this question? Okay, so I related to this question. If we have solid rock, so which system we have to adopt? If we have solid rock, we have to go
No
for
system, nothing.
No, so in solid rock we can have 90 degrees excavation, not a problem. So
No,
protective
90
system is
degree
not required for solid rock.
90-degree excavation can be even for class A, B. It can be there, 90 degree. The possibility is mainly for
But
A
it
class.
depends upon that.
Yeah, for
No,
A class, for
it's
example, if we are going to do some excavation, making some trench that is almost 4 feet, so it doesn't mean that we have to make some slope. We have to make it vertical, but we have to put this shoring there. Vertical is there, but for the rocks, actually, there is no need for any protection. But any other way can also be, I mean, sorry to interrupt, 90 degree.
If we have soil type C, so what about sloping? It is
Sloping can be done. Sloping can be done at 34 degree.
okay, correct. Yes, anybody want to say anything?
For class C, we are going to do sloping because the forces which are going to act on the at the bottom of the soil will be reduced. So that's the reason why we ask them to do a slope at a 34 degrees angle.
Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh, please mute your mic. Okay. Now, next is Mr. Virendra Singh Rathore. Your turn, please, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question related to electrical hazard, electrical injuries occurring in the construction sites. So, in how many categories we can categorize the electrical injuries, and what are those?
Electric categories of electrical injuries. Yes.
Yeah. And what are
Answer, please.
those?
Yeah. Mr. Imran Aslam.
Yes, if we're talking about the electrical injuries, so uh, the source where the injuries happen from the electric is electric shock. So the injury received is from the electric shock. So the types injuries are burns, even if the shock is more severe, if it is going to 4.3 milliampere, I think, then it's going to be a heart failure. Then if a person has a little bit chances to exposed to the electric shock, then maybe he is working on a height, then he maybe maybe fall from a height. So any injury, little bit bruises and broken bones are from this electric shock. So these are 3 or 4 types of injuries that may happen when a person exposed to an electric shock.
Yes, Mr. Vrindra, are you
Yeah,
satisfied with the
just,
answer?
yeah. I think he has done a quite good reply. But in addition to that, actually, what this construction safety and David Yates book tell is there are basically 2 types of electrical injuries: direct and indirect. First, we have to categorize direct and indirect. And in the direct,
Correct.
there are in the direct there are 3 categories. Number 1 is electrocution or death. You can say from electrical injuries. Number 2 is electrical shock, and number 3 is burns only. And so these are the 3: electrocution or death, electrical shock, and burns. And in the indirect category, there can be a falls. So answer is right. There is no issue answer in the answer, but we have to first categorize into the direct and indirect, and then we have to the subcategorize.
Oh, good. That was a tricky question. Everybody understood the answer, or
Yes.
Yes.
okay?
Okay, Mr. Asghar, one thing I just want to give my input. For example, if some person gives the answer first, and if the person like the second or third, it doesn't mean that I'm the second. I'm just saying you may also ask the second person, do you want
Yeah,
to
Yes,
give
yes,
some
yes,
input
yes.
from your
yeah.
end or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
Noted, noted.
Basically,
Yeah.
my opinion is that the second person maybe want to give the answer automatically, or one should understand that he will be answer that, maybe. Yes.
Yeah, I think we can ask to the second person to add some value added points in that answer.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
That yeah,
Yeah,
that would be a better I think choice for all of us, because the value addition gives more input in the correct answer.
correct. So anybody has to say anything? He wants to
Yeah,
add
for this
anything
thing,
to this?
this is very clear that direct and indirect is there. The direct is there when, this electrons, in other words, they can directly pass to a person. They all are the direct. And indirect means that if a person gets some electrical shock, for example, he's working at the scaffolding. Due to this electrical shock, he could not manage his balance and he fell down. So these are the falls. Falls are also a major cause there. But if we just, as Grandslam has told that what happens with the person, on what amperage, actually there is some issue in the Yates also. Initially he was explaining that at 50 milliampere, actually, a person can get electrical shock, he can die. But later on he says that at 75
Yeah.
milliampere a person can,
Yes.
the death is there. So beyond the
Yeah.
75 milliampere, what happens actually, these muscles actually they begin to retract, and also the heart rhythm, it is
Heartbeat
also
increase.
disturbed.
Heartbeat
Yeah,
increase.
yes, it is either
Heartbeat
increased
increase,
or
and yeah, heartbeat deteriorated, I think, and heartbeat gets ineffective, and then within a minutes or within a second, person can be dead. Person can be dead.
yeah, because
So
the thing is this.
what you are telling, Zawad, is also correct. Actually, the book has some differences in its statement. Like
Yeah,
in the first page, it's telling that up to 50 milliampere a person can cause the death, and the second page it is telling that up to 75 milliampere it can cause the death. But I think later, but I think the first one is shall be the correct, because when you got the shock of 50 milliampere, then naturally death can occur, can occur, can occur. And,
Yeah, it can
and
occur. Also, yeah,
it
please,
can
please,
it
sir.
can occur. It can occur.
Yeah.
So there is no thumb rule that up to 50 milliampere or up to 60 milliampere, what can be the consequences to the person. But 50 milliampere can cause the death. That means we have to take the figure 50 milliampere only. This is as per my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. So
Yeah,
my
actually,
suggestion is
can I
required.
speak?
Suggestion is required in
Can,
this forum.
can I speak? 75. The
Yes,
correct answer is 75.
Numan Adil, yes.
Yeah, the correct answer is 75 milliampere. Actually,
You are right, Mr. Noman. But the one thing I just want to add here, if which is more stringent, whenever there are two things coming, which is more stringent, then we have to go with the stringent, like with the 50 milliampere. What I say, because if a book says a person can die on 50 milliampere, later on they say at 75 milliampere, then we have to think where the hazard has actually been identified. We do not think that 50 milliampere is a low hazard and 70 milliampere is greater than that one. So we consider 50 milliampere as that hazard,
Yes.
as a more
Yes.
greater hazard.
Absolutely.
One thing is this. Another thing I
Absolutely.
just want to
Absolutely.
add, yeah, I just want to add another thing here, like yeah, as Aslam has told, like a defibrillator is used. What happens because our heart, when it pumps actually on the basis of some circadian rhythms are actually there. So these are actually also the electrochemical impulses which actually help it to mainly these are electrical impulses which help it to go for systolic and diastolic motion. Okay, what happens when the electric current passes through it? That electrical current which is helping to beat the heart, that is actually disturbed. So the impulse and the frequency which it was getting initially, it is badly disturbed. Heart cannot recognize it, what type of electric current it should receive. In this way, the heart begins to stop, it becomes imbalanced, and then heart attack or heart failure happens. Then he is saying, Imran Salam has told, then we need some defibrillator. Why actually we need defibrillator? Defibrillator also produces the electric current. Okay, but its electric current, its frequency is same as the circadian rhythm of the heart. So when they give him the electric current once again according to that frequency, then the heart recognizes it and it attempts to beat with the same rhythm. So this thing I actually just wanted to put. I just took these words from Mr. Imran Aslam. Thank you.
Yeah, very
Okay,
well
thank you.
explained by Mr. Jawad. Yes, Mr.
Well,
Imran Aslam.
sorry, we have a very some thoughts in this question. That one thing is very important, that the current is not an issue, but we have to be always focused about that the other factors, like the surface, is it wet or dry, the body part which is exposed to the current, and other factors, environmental factors, are very important in the to convert the severity of the current into the body. So these are also the factors. It maybe the Yates books said that at 75 milliampere the person will not survive, or death will occur, but maybe at 25 milliampere or at 14 milliampere, the exposure of the body from the current, maybe the person will not survive. So these are another thought, another factors that will also count to the current, when current will when a person will expose to the current. So
Very good, Mr. Imran Aslam. It also depends upon the surroundings. I also want to add one thing. I don't know whether this is correct and or not correct. I read somewhere that females are more resistant to electric current than males. I don't know this is correct or not. Anyhow,
okay.
we'll move to our next colleague, Mr. Jawad Raza. Sir, please, your question.
Okay, sir. Okay. I'm just a simple question. Which one of the soil type of soil is called like the submerged soil?
Submerged soil. Okay.
Jawad, I think if I'm not wrong, the submerged soil is a soil that has a tendency, sorry, that has a tendency to a wet. The wetting ability of the soil of maybe it's more like a mud. So if I think not is a not a right answer at the time, but I think this is the submerged answer.
Yeah, submerged, actually, this is a soil, which is now the issue is this, like we say, submersible pump is there. Okay, the submersible pump is neither on the bottom and nor it is on the surface. Okay, these are mostly the submerged, so which remain actually in between in the water. Okay, like on the shore, etc. You know, on the shore. So these are mostly. So should I give the answer for this?
Yeah, and
Actually, these.
anybody else want to comment on this? Okay, Mr. Jawad, please go ahead.
Yeah, mostly the submerged one are the type C, because they remain floated mostly. A floating situation is under floating situation. Like they are neither at the bottom nor at the top. They are so like the sand is there. Okay, like in the river, the sand is there. If you see below the sand, even there is a water. Above the sand, there is a water. So they almost remain the submerged, and they also not remain in the clay form. They are also not very cohesive. So mostly the type C soils, they are the submerged soil.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody
Jawad,
have?
yeah, Jawad, is there anything written about the submerged soil in this Yates book?
Yes, it is written down.
Okay.
Written down. You can see there. It's there. So that's why I will not ask any question out of Yates.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything, or we can move to other question? Mr. Muhammad Abdul Munsif, your turn, please.
No, I didn't mention a question, but I need someone to clarify something for me. Now, while I'm reading the new blueprint of ASP and the CSP, they mention the scaffolding safety requirement, okay, or the scaffolding. And when I go to for the reference for this scaffolding, I found he using the ANSI A10.8. Is there any materials for this standards for scaffolding to can understand what is a new question will coming in this part?
Yeah, scaffolding actually standard, they are mainly in the OSHA, like
Yeah,
929
I know.
CFR 1926.500. Yeah, point
Yeah,
five
there is
hundred.
OSHA. There
Yeah,
is OSHA.
yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
talking about NSI. NSI A10.8. For me, up to now, the only standard here available with me on Saudi Arabia, just using this one, is the Aramco standard, which is talking more deep in the type of tube and the type of couplers and what is the safe workload for everyone. But there is Aramco standard. I need clear standard for this one. If somebody can share NSI A10.8, because what I see, it is clearly found in the reference.
So is
Because
it
for
also
me,
mentioned in Yates?
not in Yates, because this new blueprint. Maybe in Yates he mentioned some about scaffolding, but some only regarding OSHA. He didn't mention anything regarding NSI. NSI always speak about the material. What is the galvanized? What is the type of galvanized of tube? What is the type of coupler? What is the safe workload? Always talking about some material engineering regarding the materials. So if anybody have ANSI A10.8, it will be good for us, because maybe there is new items for blueprint 10. for ASP and the CSP.
Good.
Okay, then if somebody wants to say anything related to scaffold, or
No, because of Mr. Muhammad, we have to ask question from Mr. Muhammad because he just asked. He didn't ask any question. He just gave his input whether some person is having 10.8 for 10.8 from NC. So we are none of us is
Yeah.
still having that one. Yeah, we are just waiting for a question from
Okay.
him.
If we recall, hello.
Mr. Abdul Munsif, your question, please. If you have any
Okay.
question to us.
Hello.
Okay. I can give somebody can explain the category. Maybe it is not belong to. It is sometime belong to construction and sometime belong to the operations. Category of PPE for the electrical.
Everybody understand the question?
We have some. It
No,
is found, I think, in David Yates. But if
no
somebody
question.
can explain,
Sorry,
good.
could not understand the question, please, because there was some distortion.
Category of VBE for electrical work.
Categories of personal protective
Okay,
equipment
yeah,
for
yeah.
electrical work.
Like
Yeah.
A,
NFBA
B, C,
70A.
E.
Yes.
This is E1 actually.
NFBA 70A.
A70. A70 is actually these are the national electrical codes. This
Yes, but
standard is the national electrical
actually,
code. Yeah.
so many questions in span and in bucket coming in this area.
Yeah, it may come. Mostly, this, yes, it is, PPs are there, like E class, C, like helmet is there, E class, C class, and B class. Still, sorry, we don't remember. I actually at least don't know. Somebody knows, he can give answer for this.
Actually, it is not about the BBO also only, about the guidance. What is the competent and what is the qualified for every person should be found in every category. Okay. And every area, what we can call the every area, because actually maybe this part is not clear 100% in David Yates, but the NFVA 70A is very big. Maybe I cannot extract this part from it. So if somebody explain, it will be good.
I think these 2 points Mr. Muhammad Abdul Munsif asked regarding A70 and 10.8. I think we can discuss it tomorrow or next section.
Okay, no problem.
Next is the Engineer Abdul Ghaffar. Are you there? Mr. Abdul Ghaffar. Okay, I think he's not there. Who else is there? Numan Adil. Yes, Mr. Numan Adil.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
If we what is sorry. If we declare an area open pit, what will be the criteria for confined space? Means depth 5 feet. If open pit is about 50 by 50. Can you explain, please?
Can you please elaborate your question, Mr. Numan Adil?
My
Can you
question
repeat?
is,
Yeah.
yeah. My question is, confined space. If we declare a confined open pit as a confined space, then what will be the criteria for this? As we know that below 5 feet, we declare a confined space. If a open pit is about 50 by 50, then can we declare as a confined space? Are there
Okay.
any need of SPM or protocol, safety protocol?
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
this is reason why I'm asking
Naman,
this
I
question,
understood your question. I understood your
because
question. If
because
somebody
this
has put
kind of
A,
this,
otherwise I am just going to.
because these kinds of practices are being practiced here in Pakistan or in small volume project.
Okay.
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 So
Okay,
this
Mr.
is the reason
Asghar, I
why
will
I'm
try to
asking.
give answer for this, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
Because yeah, so Naman, actually, for the confined space, it's clear that any depth that is more than 4 feet, it will be regarded as a confined space. But to become something confined space like an excavated area, it should also not be more than 15 feet wide. If it is more than 15 feet wide, even it's very deep, but more than 15 feet wide, then you can't call it a confined space. Then you can call it like a open pit. So like in our areas for water, like on the drilling rig, we are having these waste pit and then the water pit, they're not the confined spaces because mostly those are more than 15 feet wide. If less than 15 feet wide and more than 4 feet depth, then we can call it a confined space.
Actually, I'm recalling Mr. Imran Aslam when we were working in Angrove project. Then these kind of actually Angrove declared 3.5 feet as a confined space, because if a person goes down in sitting position, then it will be declared as a confined space, especially in a trench or excavation area.
Mr. Raman, you are right. This is the company's own standard. OSHA says like 4 feet. Companies, you can even put like a 2 feet if you are having very like small height people. Okay, if you are going to have, so because they have made their standard more stringent. This is the only reason.
Okay, yes,
Actually, at that
Naman,
time, Imran, actually, at that time, we
yes.
were not able to understand that kind of situation, because we were not actually that at that time it was a start of our experience in 2008. Actually, I'm recalling you.
So
You know very well.
one thing, Noman, one thing I am adding into your point is that if you there is a requirement, stringent requirement when there is something uh, at that area or at anywhere XYZ, anywhere in the world, that if you found and some kind of gas and accumulation of gas, like there were some kind of ammonia is present. So for the sake of that, they they targeted for 3.5 foot for and declared it as a confined space. So it's depend upon the company, but it's always depend upon that. If you dig up any excavation, so after the 1 feet or 2 feet, there may be a H2S gas present, or maybe any other gas present, and the geographical and the history of the land is showing that there is something. So then the company decided that after the 2 feet, after 3.5 feet, maybe there will be a confined space. So I think that there were ammonia at that time was present. So I think they are stringent there.
Yeah, Imran Aslam, you're quite right. Sorry to interrupt here because something is new is there, so that's why. He's quite right. This is a very good point. If there are more hazards, then you can make your standards more stringent. There is another thing actually I want to put, like he has said, ammonia. So its atomic mass is almost 17, and air atomic mass is 29. So it means that it is much lighter than air. So that's why, because it can go a little bit high also. I mean, it can easily bloat up, so that's why they have reduced it to 3.5 feet. Possibility is there.
One
Okay.
thing more, one thing more, just one thing more, please. Uh, actually, hello, one thing more, please.
Yes. 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 Please go ahead.
Likewise, we have seen excavation is carried out without supervision. We have seen. this is our experience. Is if work is going on without supervision, uh, what will be your stance here, please?
Yes, I think his question is, there is unsafe condition in front of you, and what is your action? Correct, Mr. Numan Adil?
If you see a pipeline laying down, such kind of activity is a routine matter. Uh, so, what is your opinion here about? Should we take it strictly, or should we give any relaxation?
Yes, answer of this question
Sir,
from anybody.
sir, I will
Anybody,
try
and
because
Mr.
except
Jawad,
Java.
yeah, except Mr. Jawad. Mr. Vrindra, can you please answer of this question?
Actually, what I'm asking, these kind of practices we are facing here. So
Yes, Mr. Vrindra.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this answer actually, about this question actually. So can you ask to somebody else, please?
Okay.
because mostly it has been seen that work is carried out without supervision if excavation is in progress. Simple question. Should I allow or not? What standard says?
Yes, most of this is happening, but we remember that any work
Mr.
without any supervision will cause some serious incident. So the every work should be monitored. Maybe the company afford the level of equipment deployed at that time. So maybe
Mr. Vrindra,
supervising,
please mute your mic. Mr. Vrindra, please mute your mic. Yeah.
maybe
Mr.
maybe supervision is very important, whether the company is afford that supervision, so reduce the level. Maybe the lead man is there, will be deployed or at the point, maybe an other competent person who is enough experience about the excavation. So there will be a supervision. No procedure in this world saying that the every work should be monitored by somebody. So you can format your develop your plan and get it done and discuss with the management that if maybe if there are 100 chances, but in one chance the catastrophic incident may be happened because of the unsupervision. So it is very important the work should stop, or discussion with the management should be on board. So I think in this way you can solve your issue.
Correct, Mr. Muhammad Imran Asghar. Yeah,
Rightly said. Rightly said.
I want to add one
You
thing. Uh, yeah, I was in one Aramco project in 2013, and there were I think 3 or 4 Pakistani guys. They were new on site, and they were doing some fireproofing mixing material. They were having one like fireproof cement. It is like cement. There is material, and they had to mix in a machine, and they did not know how to mix that material. There was no supervisor, and one of them, he put his hand in that machine and he lost his arm. And one of the main reason was there was lack of supervision, lack of training. So supervision is very important. Okay, we move to next question. Whose turn is this? Okay, it is my turn now again. So again, a simple question. We use oxyacetylene cylinder at site normally for cutting. At site, we use oxy and acetylene, oxygen and acetylene together. But when we store in designated area, storage area, why we put them in a separate place? Yes, Mr. Imran Aslam.
It's very simple because uh, the acetylene is an hazardous gas. So you know that the fire will be more if you consider the fire triangle, the fire will be more if more oxygen is there. So if it is happened, the the acetylene cylinder may be blast from some reasons. So if the blast is there, then the nearby oxygen cylinders have provided more oxygen. So there will be an plus reaction will occur, or more fire is more dangerous and more blast is occur. So I think the reason is that there will be a maintaining a distance. And one thing is that if there is some nitrogen gas and inert gas is present there, so you can put the inert gas cylinders with the acetylene cylinders. So because inert gas is not taking part in any reaction, so you are talking about the oxygen and the acetylene cylinder. So there will in this regard, we will maintain a difference between them.
Correct. Second one is Mr. Jawaz. Your opinion, please.
Yes, sir. My opinion is a little bit. One thing I do 100% agree with Imran Aslam. Like you want to make it separate. One reason. You even do not know what is going to happen even if it is empty or not. Okay. Let me just give me 2 minutes so that I may explain. Oxygen and this acetylene cylinder, they should be stored separately. One thing is this. The other thing is this: the empty cylinders and the I mean filled cylinder, even acetylene or oxygen, they have also to be separately. Like acetylene filled cylinder and empty cylinder, they have to store separately. Now the thing is this: for example, if there is some leakage, because acetylene, its molecular weight is how much? C2H2. This is 12, 24, 25, 26. Yeah, almost it is 26. It's the molecular weight, so near to the air weight also. So what means it means that it will not go anywhere away. Okay, it will just be inside the I mean atmospheric air. So what is happening if the concentration is going to be accumulated on one area, and if its concentration is reached to a certain position, when it can get a flash, because its flash point is also very low. Okay, when the flash point is also low, then it can catch fire. If the oxygen is nearby, because oxygen is already available in the I mean air, you can get it from there also. But the main reason, as Imran has told, if it blasts, because oxygen gas is a compressed gas, acetylene cylinder is not a compressed gas. Please, here you everybody has to realize, oxygen gas is a compressed gas. Its cylinder should be hydro tested. Okay, should be hydro tested. But acetylene cylinder, it can never be hydro tested, because most of the acetylene cylinders, they are the welded, they are not made in some what we call it, without any seam. They are not without seam. They are always without seam. Okay, it should not be hydro tested. The only thing there is, if it catches a fire, or in any case if it blasts because it was not prepared from the mold, then it can have impact on the oxygen cylinder. Then the oxygen cylinder bursts, so there will be a good mixture for the acetylene and oxygen. The same way the oxyacetylene mixture will be formed and the blast will be there. Okay, my only input here was that it should not be hydro tested. This is a thing actually I wanted to add here. Acetylene cylinder should not be hydro tested.
Okay, Mr. Numan Adil, you want to add anything?
Basic rules, basic stacking rule. Every cylinder which has different properties must be segregate. Rule number one. And secondly, it may contaminate to other. And third and finally, as Jawad said, empty and filled cylinder should be a distance should be placed about distance, reasonable distance. Simply
Correct.
three. Number one. I will go for number one is more important to my point of view, because this is the basic rule of stacking.
Okay, okay, all are correct. All are correct. So next we move on. Mr. Mushtaq Sheikh, your next question, please.
Yeah. Actually, it is related to protective system. We were discussing about sloping, benching, and shoring. In this, up to what depth we can go to apply for the protective systems? About what point it should be designed by an RPE. The acronym of this RPE is like Registered Professional Engineer.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Jawad Raza.
Sir, first of all, I really apologize. I am not, because this is like in movies or in some programs in a TV channel, we say who is going to put the buzzer first. So in this way, everybody just tries to put the buzzer. So it doesn't mean that I want to poke myself always. If there is some input, then I want to give input.
Yeah, so please, sorry to disturb.
Yeah,
this is
the
discussion session. Everybody has to come forward. Everybody has to share his experience, or something has to speak. So everybody should participate in. So I request again everybody to, not only Jawad or Imran Aslam, everybody should speak and ask question. If you have any confusion, ask again. So if we don't know the answer, we can check from our books or from somewhere, and we can discuss this tomorrow or in next session. But don't hesitate to come forward. Yes, Mr. Jawad, please.
Yeah, one thing is actually starting from Mr. Shaikh's question. Depth actually for cave in, actually it starts from the 4 feet according to Yates and Oshal. So from the 4 feet it starts, and at which depth we have to put the shoring sloping, it is not actually like that, because RPE actually he makes the calculation by himself or from the manufacturers. Okay, the statistics should be from the data table of the manufacturers, and then you have to make a calculation according to that thing, because all the soils, they do not have the similar specifications. Like if I have a soil near my home and in the next street, maybe the soil specification is different, so we cannot claim that at this depth then we are going for this shoring or the sloping or something. Yeah, for the sloping it should be there at least a distance between the two. I mean it should be 4 feet. I mean, the width should be at least the 4 feet. Then you can go for some sloping.
So it is up to RPE who decides whether up to what point there should be shoring or benching or whatever, right?
Maybe I'm wrong. Shai can tells correct. Maybe I am wrong, because my idea says this, that without the specifications, without the calculations, you do not know. Okay, yeah. When you have to make a slope like from the 4 depth should be the 4. Okay, then you are going for the shoring, and from here this confined space also starts. I mean, this excavation is also regarded.
Yes, somebody
Yeah.
else want to add something? Yeah, please. Mr. Shaikh, please speak.
Yeah, this is regarding when we were discussing basing on the type of soil. So it is actually, I feel that it's riskier that when we go much deeper into deeper in the earth when we are excavating. So when we cross about 20 feet, things will change, because up to certain layers we have one kind of soil, because in sometimes we find that up to a certain layer we have one kind of soil. Suddenly from that layer the soil type sometimes changes, so that cannot be predicted just basing upon the soil type which we find on the topper layer. So that's the reason why when we go for an RPE, that is a registered professional engineer, should come and certify and decide, and it should be designed by him what protective system must be applied for that. So I hope he has answered most of the thing, but I feel this is the answer what it is out of the practical experience.
Okay, correct, Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh. Anybody else want to add anything to this question? Okay, next turn is Mr. Imran Aslam. Your question, please, sir. Mr. Imran Aslam, please ask question.
Sorry, now I unmute my mic. My question is very simple. Basically, in Yates' book, there is a topic, control access zone system. From its name, it's very simple that we have to be developing a zone that is controlled, and then we will work. But there is some standard is mentioned there. So anybody elaborate it? What real crust of this topic, control access zone system? Because there is some standard mentioned, maybe that will be the part of ASP question, examination question. So can anybody explain it? Thank you.
Yes, answer please. Access zone. Anybody else from Mr. Jawad? Yes, Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh. Who wants to give answer, Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh or Mr. Jawad Raza? Okay, Mr. Jawad, please go ahead.
Sir, what actually I think about this thing, controlled access control zone, it depends upon the various reasons. One thing is only the authorized persons, they are allowed, where the hazardous work is going to be carried out. So it means that one requirement is this. The other requirement for this is has access zone that can be, sorry, this hazardous access zone that can be marked at least 6 feet away from the hazardous area. and it can be marked even in the form of the line, red line, or by putting the some ropes, etc. So one thing is there. And also, actually I could not understand question from Mr. Imran. So there can be the many details which we can put forward. So Mr. Imran, a little bit if you can evaluate, because I just understood what you want to know, what actually the access, I mean, controlled access zone
Can
is.
I answer this? Can I answer
Because
this?
okay, you can answer, please. Thank you. You can answer
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, actually, what I understand from him, the question is he want an elaboration on the controlled access zone system, right? So this, in our day to day, when we are when we go across, we see that some metro projects are being constructed. Okay, so in this, here two scenarios are there that the construction work should
Hello.
also progress at the same. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Is my voice audible?
Yes, you can speak,
Yes, yes,
please.
yes. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when we see the metro projects which are going on, where the man movement and people movement and traffic movement is there, as well as the project also should run simultaneously. So they divide into two things like control access zone. They create a zone kind of thing. So this can be done by means of a safety net systems below that. So where the hazard is present, so they mark basing upon the type of activity they are going to carry out. Like if we like a few of the areas we have some precast columns which we erect. So basing on that, the standard is defined. Or people who are working on the leading edges, for example, this metro projects, or sometimes we are carrying out demolition activities. So when we are carrying out demolishing activities, uh, the methodology which we adopt, suppose if we are doing it manually by the jackhammer, or we are doing with a mechanically equipped, or sometimes we use an implosion kind of a thing. So we need to see that how far anything will go, and how we need to define that area, so where it can have its impact, or we define it as a control line. We put it by a control line, or maybe there is a man movement area where the scaffold direction and something is there where above them, and there is no other constraint or restricted access is available. Area is available for that project. So we create some control access zones. So maybe there is some other scenario where people are working, they're doing the construction activities which involves bricks, as it brickwork is need to be carried out, or some concreting works when we are pouring concrete into the columns, or the slab work, or anything of such kind of things are being carried out. So we try to control this by putting safety nets, or we define with some barrier kind of a thing which will not cross that area. So that has been calculated by an expert who knows that what will happen in that particular thing. This is what I think this control access zone means like. So there are controls like we create a mesh also. If some brickwork is being carried out, we put to a certain height the mesh, so that the brick, and we define the stacking of the bricks on that working areas or at the edges of the building. So this is what I think totally about the control access zone. And somebody wants to add anything into this, or maybe if I'm wrong, they can correct.
Yes, Mr. Mushtaq, you elaborated it much. But as Mr. Jawad earlier told me about that, what I am asking, the little bit I am asking is elaboration of the specification. Like Jawad added that after the six feet, we put a red zone, we put a red line. So after 6 feet, if there is, depending upon the height, and we will put more feet, maybe we will go for 25 feet, maybe we will go for 10 feet. So there is some type of specification about, related to the height or related to other thing. My question is that because in Yates book it is clearly writing of that, but I can't understand. So I put this question from that book.
Okay, if you don't mind, would you like to? Because I didn't, because it was a very lengthy chapter, and I couldn't go through whole. Now I'm going to realize what actually you are going to ask now. Actually, the requirement here is a controlled access zone. It is in the different ways. The thing is this, where the hazardous work is being carried down. For example, in the normal, like if some crane operation is there, okay, something is there. So what you have to do from the open edge, because when there is no fall protection area, or I mean this guardrail is available. So what you have to do, you have to keep yourself away at least 60 feet, sorry, 6 feet away from the open edge, or the maximum you have to keep 25 feet, okay, when there is some hazardous work being carried on. But if there is some precast concrete, what is there, like you are doing some concrete job, you are raising some building or wall, and what you are doing that already the wall is raised, but inside it you are putting the concrete, and there is no chance that it will actually fall down. In that scenario, you have to be away from 6 feet, because it's not very easy for the precast to fall down, okay. Then what you have to do, you have to keep yourself away 6 feet, okay, or maximum 60 feet away you have to be from there. This is their requirement. The other thing what they are saying, for example, if there is if you don't know what the height will be there, 60 feet I have to keep, or more than 6 feet you have to keep, then what you have to do, you have to look at the height of that object from your level, okay, from your level. What you have to do, like you say this is 10 feet high, okay, the wall, the concrete, this concrete membrane or concrete member or what else that is going to be raised there, okay. So because it is not being overlaid by the bricks, keep in mind, no bricks, this wall is by no
Yes.
bricks. So what you have to do, then you have to on the paper make a perpendicular line. You say this is almost 10 feet, okay, this is almost 10 feet. What you have to do, from there you have to uh, make a diagonal line, okay, diagonal line on the base, okay. On the base, when you will make a diagonal line, automatically you can get the horizontal line. When you get the horizontal line, so it means that now you are having a distance. That distance should be the half of the height. You're understanding me or no?
Yes.
uh, okay,
Yes.
the height, for example, if I say the height is 10 feet, okay, on your paper you write down the perpendicular line, this is a 10 feet. Now you
Yes.
are from the top of that line, you are making a diagonal on the bottom line, parallel to the bottom line of the vertical line. So when it will come down, so it will become like a triangle, so it will be a diagonal. Now from the end of that diagonal line to the bottom of the perpendicular line, you will get a horizontal line. Now this horizontal, you will take the half of the horizontal line, so it means that you have to keep away yourself from the half of that horizontal line. You understanding me or
Okay.
not? You
Yes.
have
Yes.
not to
Now.
go, yeah, you have not to go with the height of the, like you say, I have to keep 5 feet. No, you have not to go with the 5 feet. You have to go with the diagonal first. Then according to the diagonal and perpendicular comparison, you have to identify the horizontal this length. If it is less than 5 feet, then you have to stay beyond 6 feet. If it is more than 6 feet, the half of it, then you have to stay at that length. You are understanding me? And if they are saying, if it is a brick, if you are raising a wall with the bricks, then what you have to do at that time, you have to stay almost 10 feet away from the edge of the raising wall, okay, the minimum. Otherwise the calculation also comes there. Otherwise what you have to do there, uh, I mean, if it is a more than this, then you have to keep yourself maximum 15 feet. Again, you do not know about this thing. What you have to do, you have to make the same calculation as you have done previously, okay. So this is
Okay.
a way you can identify your controlled access zone.
Oh, thank you very much. Well elaborated,
Okay, well,
and
yeah,
and this is
very well
also
elaborated.
mentioned.
Thank you, boss. I'm sorry for one thing, Mr. Asghar. I'm very sorry because I don't know. I'm poking myself again and again. I will try to make myself cool down. Huh? When everybody will speak, then I
That's
will speak. Because it doesn't look good,
uh,
because a person looks
yeah.
bad when he is poking every time. I'm sorry for this.
Okay, related to this question, I have I want to add one thing on roads. Like we have road works in our projects. We use a buffer zone. Anybody has any idea about the buffer zone? Anybody is having experience in road safety?
I heard little bit about that buffer zone, like whenever a accident will happen, to how far it will travel with the speed limit which is provided on that, and to keep away the vehicles, but not very sure about that because
Uh,
we have SP55. In SP55, we have this standard about the buffer zone.
Mostly in
SG.
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, Mr. Jawad, please.
Yeah, because I don't know, because I'm just doing my input, because I have heard about the buffer zones. They are the zones where the noise doesn't come actually. Those are called the buffer zones, so that the public who is staying there, they should not hear that noise. So that area is actually called the buffer zone according to the noise issues. The other way, the buffer zone is there where there is no vibration, no other vehicles, and no person should be there. That is a quadrant off area. So that area is the buffer zone area. This is my input. Maybe I'm
But
wrong.
it is, but I think it is related to road projects. He's asking about the road projects because road projects we uh, divide the roads when we are planning. Like the safety officer will decide a buffer zone. So he's asking about that. Hopefully.
I I
Yeah,
have one for that. If we divide the road from with a cone, and we place the cone in different and at different sorry, after the distance, the place the cone after different distance, so we taper it from wider to narrower. We taper it down, so the person the next car, the next any other vehicle coming from the side upward side will see that there is some cones, but that cones directed to some tapering shape, that from wider to narrower. So in the road safety philosophy, so we put put the cones in this ways. So I think we create a buffer zone for safest way of the transportation. Maybe this is the answer.
yeah.
The
The
zone
answer.
where, can I speak?
Yeah. Please.
The zone where risk are minimum will be called buffer zone. Risk should be minimum.
Okay. Anybody else want to give his input?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
In general, in the construction site, the buffering zone, we have two types of buffering zone. Buffering zone
Sir,
between
sir,
two zones,
we are talking about road
road
work.
safety, intersection
Yeah.
of the road, the place between two roads, two different way of the road. Okay, and this area should be visible, and the access for this area from the two sides should be visible for the 3 seconds. For examples, if I am using the road policy is 40 kilometer per hour, so I have to calculate the area, the 3 second area before this area, before this zone, and the 3 seconds before this zone should be visible from the other intersection or from the other road to this access zone. That's always when we're making some traffic plan and some infrastructure work or some very great construction area, we have to assign this area between the road. Like example, I have road number 1 as a horizontal and I have road number 2 as a vertical. Okay, between this road, the intersection between this road, the buffering, we call it the buffering zone between these two roads. And this should be this buffering zone including the area between these two roads and also some part from each road. And every part from each road should be equal 3 seconds. And how can I calculate this 3 seconds or the 7, sometimes 3 and sometimes 7. Some construction site call it 7 seconds. I can calculate it about the speed policy. For example, I have a speed policy 25 kilometer or 40 kilometers. So I have to know what is the 4 or 7 second for the vehicle. How many distance? So this distance should be included also in the buffering zone. Why? Because this should be the visible area or the visible triangle. So in this case, I will prevent any accident. That we are doing in the...
Okay, all are correct. But let me explain, because we have some road work in our project. So the buffer area or buffer zone, the actual purpose is to separate traffic from the working area. In Saudi Arabia, this distance, this buffer zone distance, it should be 80 meters. 80 meter. Like we have a construction activity near the or on the roadside, and traffic is coming and going. So before the construction site, we have to allocate this 80 meter. We have to put jersey barriers, signboard, lighting, and there should not be any activity in that area, because vehicles are coming at very high speed. So to avoid collision, or any road traffic accident, we use this buffer zone area. Correct. And next, Mr. Virendra Singh Rathore, your turn, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed. Just wanted to ask a very simple question. White finger is related to which type of injuries and what can cause this injury? What are the reason for this injury? It is an industrial injury, white finger.
So, okay, can you please repeat your question?
Yeah, white finger is related to which type of injury and what can cause white finger?
White finger injury, yes.
Yes, Mr. Virendra, the white finger is caused by the I think vibration. If there is if a person is using a tool having a vibration or on a daily basis, it is an acute disease, then converted to the chronic as well. So the white finger is produced because of this vibration.
Yeah, anybody else, please?
Give some input, sorry.
Yeah,
Can,
Javed,
So
please.
nobody's speaking, that's why. Otherwise, I'm trying my best to be silent.
Okay.
Yeah,
No
Raynaud
problem.
syndrome. I mean, because this is mostly the Raynaud syndrome, we can call it. This is by the
Friends, yeah.
repetitive. Yeah, the vibration is there. So vibration is there by the repetitive motions, like some person who is working on some panel, some typing machine, etc. So due to this reason, they are having this white finger syndrome called the Raynaud syndrome. So what happens, because at that time their blood vessels actually, by doing this, the blood actually cannot flow to that area. When the blood does not flow to that area, so it becomes the totally whitish color and something like this. So it remains almost for a longer period of their life. So I just know this about this Raynaud syndrome or white
correct,
finger.
correct. Anybody else want to add anything to this question?
Yeah, one thing, as Mr. Jawid said, all of the people have to remember that is coming always as a Raynaud syndrome. not coming as a white finger. When I experienced this question around 3 or 4 times, and David Yates coming like that, he always not saying a white finger. Raynaud syndrome always coming like that. So most of the people need to understand or remember the names of the occupational diseases.
Yeah,
That's all.
valid point. Valid point, Mr. Muhammad.
Actually,
Yeah,
I add one point in this. Can I?
yeah, please.
Uh, this this white finger disease I have seen in one of the person who has been continuously working in a demolition activity. So he has been doing since 2 to 3 years continuously. So he had a white finger, that is Raynaud's syndrome. So this is who are using this breaking works, or like the breaker or a jackhammers, which they use continuously. I have seen in them.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I want to add one thing. What we should do? What is the safety precaution? Like some people, they are working with the jackhammer for the like 8 hours or 10 hours daily. So how to avoid this injury? What would be the safety measures?
Uh, yeah, duration of exposure, job rotation, maybe he is not doing it continuously. So he need to have frequent breaks. Uh,
Are there any specific PPEs for that activity?
Yeah, there are some
yeah, PP.
anti-vibration gloves are also there. There are some anti-vibration gloves are also there, so a person can wear the anti-vibration gloves also. Apart from
Correct.
that, apart from these kind of treatment, like taking the frequent breaks, job rotation, and keeping massaging your fingers whenever you are free. So by doing this kind of things, you can avoid this injury.
Correct. In one of my
Uh,
previous
Actually,
site, we used to we used to use pads like cricket pads on the legs to avoid leg injuries. Yes, Mr. Ali Raza, you want to say something?
uh,
Yes, anyone wants to add
Posture,
something to this question?
posture may be the factor. Posture may be the factor that can be that can be reviewed.
Okay.
Yeah. That is
Okay.
also that can also be done because it is related to the basically a kind of ergonomic injury. So the person's posture also can play an important role in this kind of disease. It is basically a hand-arm vibration syndrome, and it's correctly said it is a secondary form of Raynaud syndrome and all. So whatever discussed is absolutely right.
Correct. Okay. Shall we move to next question? Mr. Jawad Reza, sir, please, your turn.
सर बोलूं कि ना बोलूं
बोले सर.
सॉरी सर अच्छा सर मेरा जो एक I just a simple question, like if you are going to use a short size cord, the cord is attached with the equipment that is short in size, and it is connected with the extension lead. Okay, so what will be happening at that time with the cord in case of electric current transfer? Or should I repeat?
Yeah. Please repeat it.
I'm saying this like you are having some hand equipment, for example, hand tool, some machine is there, okay, that is having a cord that is shorter in size than the OEM specifications. Now, it's this cord plug is now inserted into one extension lead, okay, into the extension lead. Now you want to work with this. So what will be the electrical hazard in this case?
Plug may be
Yes,
detached.
electrical has
Plug or socket may be detached, and due to this, short circuit may produce.
Mr. Noman, short circuit does not take place in this way. Huh? There is some other requirement. Noman, actually, here I want to mention Noman is my class fellow. Okay, so if I make some joke with him, please, nobody should mind. But this is a professional platform. I haven't to make. But if I say something like this, so that's why.
yeah.
Actually, I'm not getting your question. Please.
My question is this. You are going to use like drill machine, okay? And the drill machine, its cord is small in size as per the specifications of the OEM. Now you put its plug, okay, into a extension lead. You know, we are having many extension leads in our homes, also in the office. You put it there, okay? Now, what will be happening with this extension cord in terms of electrical safety?
Correct.
I think the
Yes,
extension.
simple question.
Actually, can in practice, can I speak?
Okay, Mushtaq, please go ahead. I will give the answer later.
Yeah, according to me, in our sites, this situation usually arises. What he has asked. So first thing we are, as he has mentioned, that they will be pulled at two locations, like at the place where we are connecting the extension lead and at the equipment. So if if that machine equipment is used for a very long, like a drilling machine or any other machine, so when it is used, maybe if it's not checked properly or inside the machine, if the connection is loose, it will be pulled. So from the lead, if it is not disconnected, then if some of the portion of the electrical cable is exposed during this pull, he may get an electrical shock, or maybe there may be a trip hazard because it will not be properly routed. This cable will not be properly routed, and maybe somebody can come and fall on that. At that instance, also the cable may be pulled at either of the ends, or something like that. As for my knowledge, that's why we usually don't encourage them to have a short length cord for them.
Yes, and anybody else wants to say anything? Want to add anything to this question? Yes, Mr. Jawad.
Yes. So what is actually happening whenever in this scenario, if the size of cord is small, then it actually withdraws more current. Okay. When the more current it withdraws, then the this cord is actually overloaded. Due to the
Yeah.
being overloaded, what happens? It becomes hot also. When it becomes hot, then there is a chance of some fire, etc. So this is the major thing, that it draws more current, which leads to the overloading.
Okay, Mr. Jawad, one thing for my knowledge, we use protective devices like GFCI or ELCB. So if we use that device and the scenario you gave, still we have chances of fire or overloading.
Yes, Mr. Asghar, yes, because your ELCB or circuit breaker, that is attached beyond, I mean, before this extension lead. So that will not work at that time. It will not detect any, I mean, this difference of the electrical current. Yes, if you are going to put in between the electrical cord and this extension lead, this ELCB or this circuit breaker, then it can detect. Otherwise, in this scenario, it cannot detect.
I think in the market there are some like extension cord available with the GFCI.
Yeah, they are available. I'm just giving you a general example of the general electrical. I mean, this was. Yeah, but that's why I'm saying, if we are having this ELCB CIB in our main board, in our home main board, Okay,
Yeah.
if it is there, so at that time it is not going to detect the difference of the electrical flow, because we are making use of extension lead. But if
Yeah.
this is connected with the main socket, okay, main socket, and that is also connected with the ELCB or GFCI, then at that time, you know, they can detect the difference in the electrical flow. So that's why the overload load is there. Then you know, it will catch fire and ELCB or circuit breaker will not work.
Correct. Correct. Okay. Next, Mr. Muhammad Abdul Munsif. Your turn, sir. Your question, please. Mr. Abdul Munsif, are you there? Okay, I think he's away. So next is Ali Raza Manzoor. Your question, sir. Ali Raza Manzoor. No response from both. Next, Engineer Abdul Ghaffar. I think there is some problem with Abdul Ghaffar's mic. Okay, next, Mushtaq Shaikh. Mr. Mushtaq, question please.
Yes. Yeah. This is related to the what kind of fall protection system should we adopt when we are using a fixed ladders?
Yeah, good question.
Shall I repeat the question? Shall I repeat the question? Like, what kind of fall protection system should we adopt when we are using a fixed ladder? And what are the OSHA standards saying regarding this?
Yes, Mr. Imran Aslam, please answer this question.
Yes, for the fixed ladder, we can use the self-retractable system. So it is a device, self-retractable, uh, hanging on at a fixed point, and then a person can latch with his harness and go upward and downward safely on a fixed ladder. So it is a self-retractable, and the OSHA also elaborate this, highlight this self-retractable for going upward and downward movement. I think.
Yes, anybody else who wants to add something to this question?
Or should I? I would be the last person. If somebody speaks, then I will speak.
Mr. Varindra, Noman Adil, nothing from your side?
Sorry, what was actually question for fixed ladder?
Yes. What fall protection method should we use for fixed ladder? Okay, yes, Mr. Jawad, your turn.
Yes, Mr.
Answer.
So my input here is like we can have many various, but one, as Imran Aslam has told, that we are having this SRL, self-retracting line, or we mostly this is from coming from the DBI Sala, which we try to make use of. This is mostly used on those locations which are at least which are not very high. For example, what the reason behind with this is, as soon as the person falls down, it retracts. It's like a seat belt actually. We were also discussing before, I think, something like this here. So it is something like a seat belt, as we are driving, sitting in the car, and person applies sudden brake. So these seat belts actually quickly and suddenly they catch, okay, and then they are not loosened, and it hold the person. The same case is with the SRL. The other thing is like this fall same safety harness and with the lanyard, but mostly we are having this 6 feet type lanyards. Mostly people do not make any calculation, so that's why mostly the 6 feet lanyard only work when the person is almost 17 feet high, then it will work. Otherwise this person will fall down, and the anchor point is also not very high. The third thing is actually this ladder safety system. Ladder safety system is a new introduction in most of the companies. What is this? Actually, it is having one cable that is starting from the bottom to the top. One cable is coming, and it is having the brackets. So at almost, you can say, 10 feet height, every 10 feet height or 8 to 10 feet height, this cable goes through that bracket, and these brackets are connected with the rung of the ladder. And what is happening, it is having a lower bracket and the upper bracket, and it is actually a vertical lifeline in other way. Okay, this vertical lifeline, on this there runs a sleeve. Okay, this sleeve is actually put inside the D-ring with the help of carabiner, okay, in your front. When the person is going up high in the ladder, if he falls down, the sleeve comes down. Okay, when it comes down, suddenly it locks the person. Okay, it is locked and the person does not fall down. So this is a ladder safety system. And other things are there, like this cage system is there for the vertical ladders. So many options are still there.
Correct. Yeah, Ali Raza Manzoor, he is also saying about the caging system. This is one of the measures we can take. Okay, next we can move to Mr. Imran Aslam. Your turn, sir. Mr. Imran Aslam, question please.
Sorry. Yes, my question is again the topic from fall protection. Suspension trauma. We all know what is the suspension trauma, but as a point of question, what is suspension trauma, and how can quickly we rescue a person in how many minutes? And if we not rescue a person, what will happen to that person? So my question is that.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Mushtaq Sheikh.
Yeah, actually, I received a call from office, so my line got disconnected. So I did not listen to the last conclusion of Mr. Jawad. The previous question. I think you have moved to the next question, right?
Yeah. Mr. Imran Aslam, can you please repeat the question?
My question is regarding the fall protection topic. Question is that what is the suspension trauma, and how in how many time we can rescue a person from a suspension trauma, and if a person is exposed to a suspension trauma, then what will happen if the rescue is not provided in how many time?
Yes, Mr. Mushtaq Sheikh.
Yeah, suspension trauma is when a person is been hanged in the safety harness, like full body harness. So there will be a pool of blood because of this. When a person is in hanging position, so there will be a pool of blood which will be in his legs. So
due to this, when a person is trying to rescue, when we are rescuing him, or when we try to rescue, when the person is lowered down from this position, so there will be a sudden rush of blood, that is impure blood, because the blood circulation will be stopped to your legs. So whenever this blood circulation is stopped to your legs, this will be this impure blood, when you release this person from that position, so he will this blood will go suddenly to the heart. So the heart will not be able to purify or oxygenate that blood when a sudden load is coming onto the heart. So during that stage, the oxygenated blood will not go to his brain, so the person will go into suspension trauma. So we need to rescue this person from 10 to 20 minutes. I feel like this is what the standard I studied, I remember, like. And like there are different methods how we can rescue, like we were discussing in the previous question, like the D rings. So we have D rings to which we can uh, like we have different methods of rescuing, like first is a self rescue, second one is aided rescue, third one is like a mechanical rescue. So the in aided in the self rescue, he can have there is one equipment like which releases which can be released by using which can be hanged in one of his D-ring. So when we pull this strap, he will be lowered to the bottom. Like usually we use this one for like when we are doing erection works of the towers, big towers, because in this self rescuing is very important, because we have one more like a so like a suspension trauma strips. So this will increase the duration of rescue, like, but if we consider like when we do like tower erections of 100 meters, like the communication tower lines or electrical lines, so this will not be helpful. So that time we will be using self rescuing kits, which will be available usually by 3M and other companies. So next comes the aided. If it is of short length, then he can take the help of someone, where he can use a ladder or some other or a movable scaffold or something like of that kind, and where he can rescue. And the third one is the mechanical aided, is maybe either we can have a scissor lift or a boom lift available near to this person who is working in this location. When he's in hanging position, he can be lowered down into that basket, in the man basket, or into the scissor lift.
Okay, very well explained by Mr. Mushtaq Shaikh. Yeah, anybody else wants to add something to this question?
If nobody speaks, then
Yes.
just one thing I want to add. Very good
Yeah.
explanation by Mr. Shaikh, and very good, things. The only thing that I want to add, if a person who is hanged like this, mostly it is between 20 to 30 minutes, the person should be rescued. Okay, and I remember, yeah, to 20, 15 or 20 minutes. This is I'm not very well clear, but the thing is, some person is hanged down. At that time, he should not move his legs. Okay, keep the only thing what he can do. He has to try to make himself like in a sitting position. Like he has to bring his hands across his knees or across his legs, and if possible, he time to time he has to make his head down and legs up, like he has to rotate himself up and down. This is a way by which he can make some flow of his blood. Otherwise the blood will be accumulated into his feet, okay, and it will not move to his brain. Even the heart will not be able to pump the accurate amount of the blood. The heart failure and even the this brain trauma he can receive. So the only thing is he can rotate himself up and down, and no other movements.
Okay, correct. Mr. Jawad, if I am right, I think 10 minutes is the rescue time. I'm not sure, because one of my previous companies, we did a fire rescue drill, working at height rescue drill, and our like our boss, he told us that uh, 10 minutes is the rescue time. I am not sure that this is right or wrong.
I'm also not very clear. Maybe it is 15 minutes. That's why I had read somewhere, but I forgot myself also.
Like what I have read is if you are using a suspension trauma strip, then it is from 15 to 20 minutes. Otherwise, it's 10 minutes. What as far as what I have practicing since so many days, like this is what we need to rescue, because usually all my works are related to falls from heights.
Thank you, Mr. Mushtaq Shak. Very good explanation. Very good, really. Okay, I have one question related to this. Same working at height. If we have to work on like 2 meter of height scaffold, 2 meter scaffold, and we are using this lanyard, shock absorbing lanyard. So, is it correct? Is it adequate to use this lanyard, or because
No,
length of
actually,
the lanyard?
as Jawad has said earlier, the fall clearance should be 17 to 18 and a half feet. It depends upon the length of the rope, like the lanyard, as well as the shock absorbing material. Some it is having some it is having 3.5 feet like that. And the safety factor, which we consider usually as 2, and few consider a little bit less than that. So usually when we add all this, and the point of anchorage, at what point he is anchoring the person. So whenever we consider all these factors, so it should be at least 17 to 18 and a half feet clearance at the below. So below to that, shock absorbing lanyard should not be used. And the concept of freely falling is like whenever a person is falling a 6 feet fall, so they will be like the 5,000 pounds, like that much weight is coming onto that. So when we reduce the height of fall, like in my previous question which I asked, in the ladder protection system, there we usually use a fall arrest system. In fall arrest system, the fall height is only 2 feet. So when the fall height is at 2 feet, like we have that, because of that, it is coming around 16 kilonewtons of that force is coming. So maybe it is reduced because of that. If I'm not wrong, like, so for 2 meters height, shock absorbing lanyard should not be used. There is no meaning, because when we consider using a safety harness, there are some hazards, like we call it as a pendulum effect. One is a pendulum effect, second one is bottoming we call it as. So in that bottoming, that person will be hitting to the ground with the force. So instead of doing good for a person for wearing a safety harness, it will cause harm to that person.
Correct. I asked this question because two weeks ago I went to site, and the same around 2.5 meter. There were some people, they were working, and we have subcontractor. I asked the safety officer why he's working without lanyard. So he gave the same answer, that
No,
on.
actually I'll try to add one point, because I also work with so many contractors. They try to fool us, but we have two systems, like one is passive system, second one is the active system. In the active system, we need to wear it. When there is a passive system, then there is no need of wearing a harness when we are working at 2 meters height. So if we have a proper access, and like access by means of step ladders, not a leaning ladder or a ladder, and a fully boarded platform with guardrails. So when we have a passive system up to 2 meters or about to 3.5 meters, so then this a person can access to that height without any then harm cannot happen to that person. Then fall can be prevented. So the main purpose behind this, we need to prevent a fall. So for this kind of scenarios, so for whatever like we have a standard that above 1.5 meters, we need to wear a safety harness. That's what the company says. But when we say practically, it is not feasible. Like in one of the projects, we used a lanyard where we used the lanyard of length of 90 centimeters, not even 1.8 meters lanyard. So it depends again. So the best way is we need to have a fall prevention system in which we have a guardrail and a proper access, fully boarded platform. So this will prevent a fall. So because a fall protection system, the safety PFAS, that fall arrest system, it will fail if any one of the component fails. Like if we consider like the anchorage is not good, if any of the connectors is not been earned, or maybe if whatever the harness components are damaged, if any one, or if you forget to anchorage, if any of this system you forget, then you're at risk, high risk. So you are taking a chance. I mean, if we are going for a fall passive system, like fall having guardrails and everything, that is more advantageous.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mushtaq Sheikh. Now we have a new joiner. I don't know the name. It is written caller 2. Can you please tell your name, Mr. Caller 2? Who is this? Okay, no reply. So, Muhammad Abdul Munsif, are you there, sir? Muhammad Abdul Munsif, are you there? No, he's not there.
I am there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Please, this is your turn to ask a question.
Okay. My question will be about the suspension platform, the cradle. Okay.
Great, look.
Okay. What is the maximum load? For example, I have cradle and the motor load is around 800 kilometer. When I read, I think, passed to me in the bucket, I found one question regarding this in the bucket. He said the load should be 6 times, or the maximum load should be 6 times from the rear load. Is that right?
Yes,
For
Mr.
example,
Jawad.
it is 6. For example, if we consider
Okay.
it is 600 kilometer, that means it can load only 100 meter.
So the kilometer is very high, like the system. I have never seen. Maybe we are going near the moon with the 800 kilometers, because it's a vertical suspension. Yes, you have read correct. Like if even the rope is there or the wire is there, it should be having 6 times more than the actual weight. This is the requirement. Otherwise, yes, the part of the connectors which are connected with the scaffolding at the time, okay, they should be bearing the load of 4 times more than the actual weight. This is the thing.
Actually, I'm
Why?
not
Because
talking about scaffolding. I'm talking about cradle, suspension platform, which is working
no,
by motor.
I am saying the same thing. I'm saying the thing, suspension. Mostly the suspension comes even from the cranes. Okay, the suspension can be from the cranes mostly sometimes. Okay, so in that scenario, that's why I'm telling you, the rope strength or safe workload SWL should be 6 times greater than the actual load, overall load, means including the load of the persons plus the load of the scaffolding platform. This is there. Okay. Why? Because wherever the human beings are used and they are going to be suspended by some things, the factor will always increase by 2 from the normal factor. Normally it is 4 times more. Okay. But okay, let me add a few things. This is the 4 feet, 4 times more. But whenever we are going to make use of some equipment, like with the help of crane, we are lifting some equipment. At that time, this load factor would be 5:1 with the wire rope. But if we are going to make use of this soft sling, at the time it should be the 7:1 factor should be there. But in this scenario where we are going to be hanged, according to the Yates, even they are saying that it should be the 6:1 factor. But what I am adding here, but the other parts of the scaffolding, not these wire hanging wire ropes or the simple ropes, okay, other parts, here the safety factor should be the 4-1, like your planks are there, your connectors are there, okay, they should be sustaining the load factor of 4-1. You have read correct there, the 6-1 is there for the suspended load.
Yes, I found this question
Correct, correct.
in the booklet before,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the answer
because
was
when the human
6-1.
is there, when the human is involved there, the safety factor will always increase, because
Mm.
now human
Yes.
is involved when he is hanging.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yes, as you said, it should be as a human. Even when considers a human also as a life load always, and even the life load should be considered have some factor over his weight. For example, if I consider this guy is only 80 kilometer or 100 kilometer, I should put 2 times as a life weight. So it will be considered as a 200 kilometers. Or it was sometime for if I have fixed something like scaffolding, it will be 1.5 times, 150 kilometers. So the life weight also have consideration for the safety factor.
Uh, Mohammed, actually, I was not understanding. You're talking the vertical length of 80 kilometers.
No, I am talking about always the life weight. Life weight have consideration with additional safety factor. For
Yeah,
example,
I
if we
will.
can consider the human as a 80 kilometer or 100 kilometer, for example, with a fixed platform like scaffolding, I will consider
It's
his weight as 1.5 times.
80 kilogram you're talking, or a kilometer you're talking?
No, kilogram.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I will add some things. This suspended working platform, we usually call it as gondola. Okay,
Yes,
so this usually run with 2 ropes or 4 ropes. This has been decided, and usually when a person is working into this, so sometimes we take like when I got it certified some 10 years before, so I have taken a factor of 8, not even 6, because that was the because I was working in a PMC as a consultant, so the client's requirement was to have a maximum safety.
yes,
So it is when the third party was certifying, he told us 6 is sufficient. So
yes,
6 times is sufficient. So we gone for we asked him to calculate it for 8 and give it to us. So we were having, so here what was our work was, we used to we would carry out facade work, that is like fixing of external glasses for a high-rise building. Okay, so we call it in this suspended
yes,
working platform, we used to carry 2 persons as well as the glass, which was around
yes.
150 to 250 kg.
Curtain wall.
250.
Yes, you mean curtain wall.
Yeah, so we used to carry that, and we used to fix from the external, because internally these glasses we can't finish, because this was for the Hayat project, Hayat Regency project, one of the prestigious projects. So in that we used to use this because all of them buildings they have a glass, the sea view and all this kind of thing.
Even me right now, I have 2 projects in Jeddah right now, 2 hotel I am under me also. The same, I kick around the 3 cradle or 3 suspension platform from the surface, not due to the motors or something like that. Even I found or I discovered also the body of the material, because it is aluminum, have
Yeah,
some damage. Yes,
lightweighted they
actually it
use.
is damaged easily.
Yes,
So
lightweighted material is the working platform usually they use. That's intentionally, because we are putting other things into that one. So that's the reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Mushtaq, I have just one question here for you,
Yeah.
because you have very good skills over this scaffolding and work at height. One thing is like you
Actually, I'm telling
used
my
word high
practical
raise
exposure.
building. Yeah,
I'm telling
high
my
raise. Sorry.
sorry. Actually, I am sharing my practical experience, because I am not
Ah,
having time to study. That's the problem.
Okay, no problem, because one thing, as you have used the word high rise building, because in the high rise building, when we are very high at a greater height, automatically the potential energy that is increased. That is actually like we have read P is equal to mg. So the mass multiplied by height into the gravity, because gravitational pull is a
MGH.
very important factor. So that's why if it is going with the 8-1 factor, so I think that it would be a good option, because as high you go, the more gravitational pull will be on you. Then there will be more strain on these ropes. And also another thing I just want to add here, like we are going to make use of the like four ropes are there. So two ropes are mostly used for the balancing. The other two ropes are actually bearing the load. Like in crane operation, mostly we divide the load, total load, with the number of the slings which we actually use, and then we identify, okay, this would be the actual load coming on one sling. The same case, is it recommended for the hanging person on the hanging scaffold, that the whole load is divided, the whole weight is divided on the slings, and then have to identify this will be the SWL for this sling? So anything you have heard like this?
Actually, you explained so a very big this thing. So in that I could not understand what is the actual question. Like if you can ask the question in precise, like you are talking at in the slings, when we are talking about the rope or the sling which you are using. So the load comes on to which sling you are talking about that?
No, let me summarize this once again, because I made use of all this explanation just to put this in one question. That's why I explained. I said, like in crane operation, when we lift a load with the four slings, mostly the load is divided, rigid load is divided with the number of the slings. Okay, and then it identifies that one sling will be, like, for example, the weight is 4 ton. If we are making use of four slings, for example, okay, we divide with the four for the rigid load, actually I'm saying, not the flexible load. And then the weight on each sling will be the 100 ton. If we are making use the two slings, then the weight will be on each sling, if these are vertical slings, not the in angle form, then the load on each sling will be 200 ton. Okay, it will be coming. Now, in case of this suspended platforms, okay, for the high rise building, now I'm saying this because gravitational pull will be also a major factor, because these are very high. The potential energy is going to be increased. So under the gravity, when we are coming, so the SWL for each rope, that would be calculated same like the crane operation, means by dividing the whole weight on the number of the ropes. Like four ropes are there and the weight is, for example, 400 kg, for example, divide by 4, means each rope should sustain 100 kg. Now the safety factor, for example, it is going to be increased to 8. So actually the each rope should sustain 800 kg weight. So that's why I am thinking whether they have given you some explanation like this, that you are working at too much height due to this gravitational pull, we are going to increase the safety factor from to 8-1 instead of 6-1.
Okay. Now I understand what is your question. Like you were talking about the potential energy. So here we have two things, like it's directly proportional to its height and directly proportional to the gravity, and directly proportional to its mass also. So whenever the mass is increasing, here in the when we are talking about this cradle, here it is not like similar to the crane, it's something different, because because the length of the working platform varies. So when the length of the working platform is increased, then the safety factor increases again more than that, because the safety instruction given by the certifier is that we need to try to distribute the load equally across the platform. Because if you are not distributing equally, then at one one side, it may become overloaded, and there is a chance that it may slip in one direction. So in this, they say that they consider a little bit a safer factor, that maybe sometimes when there is a movement, the load may not be judged precisely, and the person may not be judging that, because when we are working for when we start working and we continue after few days, we will be neglecting these things. So they try to, when such things are there, the length of the platform is reduced to very minimum, so that it fit for the purpose. So, and they decide when the height is increasing, the safety factor obviously it will be increasing more. So they take into the length of the platform as well as the height, to the height which we are increasing to you intended to use for this cradles.
Okay, I think we have spent much time on this question. We have 10 minutes remaining. So anybody has any tricky question? Anyone? Any tricky question? No one is having
No,
tricky question?
no from my side.
Okay, I related to this crane safety, I have one question. This question is not tricky, but this is like everyday observation. Like if we use crane on roadside or compacted soil, still we have to use outrigger pads. Normally our contractor, they say this soil is compacted, this is a road area, this asphalt is there, so no need to put outrigger pads. So what should be our answer? How we convince them that no, you have to use these pads?
Basically, there is a standard for outrigger pads, and it should be there, because when the outriggers are exerted more pressure, so if there is no compaction, or there is a muddy area and other things, so that the crane may be collapsed. So there is a standard that should be there. And one thing more is that some cranes have built in their outrigger. So if the crane has built in from the manufacturer, they have the outrigger, so they are the crane operator and the riggers are working with that type of crane, are very readily very much do to put the outriggers from the crane and then put out from to the outriggers. So there is a standard, and for the standard compliance, we have to convince to the persons, and not the layman. I think if you talk about with the to the rigger that please put the outriggers pad, or maybe he will refuse to you. But if you talk about the management, if you talk about the senior manager, to convince them, it is a standard, and the standards requires the compaction of the ground, but as well as require the outrigger. So I think in this way you can convince them.
Okay,
Okay.
another question. I can
If it,
Yes,
every
Mr. Abdul
crane,
Munsif.
yeah, every crane have pivot point, okay, which like outrigger when he install it. For example, see, he have two outriggers, okay, by 4 arm, and one front outrigger. So in this case, we'll consider that he have 6 pivot points. In this 6 pivot point, we have to distribute the weight of the crane with the load, like the weight of the crane, weight of the counterweight, weight also of the load. Okay, in this 6 pivot point, and this the size of the pivot point should, if we have to calculate how many meter, what is the load for every 1 centimeter square. Okay, and we have to know what is the compaction of this land, and it can be easy. For example, if I am in the road outside, I have to understand what is this area. If this area have high voltage or low voltage, or just asphalt or something like that, any civil engineer, he will tell you what is the standard of compaction of this area. And I have to make sure that this pivot point, or the centimeter square for the pivot point, is 2 times from the compaction of this area. For example, I have crane around 30 ton, okay, and not the weight is 30 ton, he carries 30 ton, and the weight of the crane around maybe 20 ton, and he have load around 5 ton. Okay, so the collection is 25 ton, and when this crane distributed in the counter, in the outrigger, I found that the outrigger with the base plate, and now I wanted to calculate the base plate. Outrigger without base plate will consider for every centimeter he have around 100 or 200 kilo per centimeter square. And when I get ask some civil engineer about the area, he found the area is normal asphalt, okay, and it is inside branch road, not in the main road, okay. And he found that this area maybe is only 90 kilo per 1 centimeter square. So in this case, I have to provide base plate to decrease the distributions, or increase the distribution of the weight, and decrease the load for every centimeter square, okay, for this area. So I'm sorry, maybe you cannot understand, but I hope I gave you already what I want.
Understand, Mr. Muhammad. Understood. Yes, Ali.
Yeah, it was a correct, a very good explanation by Mr. Muhammad, because it's mainly used to distribute the load and to balance the crane, and also we make the flattened base plate because to decrease the compaction power. Okay, because if it is pointed, it means that it will be penetrated. When the compaction is, I mean, the base plate is there, the surface area will also increase. When the surface area will increase, then the overall load that will be distributed. Like, for example, we say in PSI. Okay, this is actually the pressure, but under the frame of some area, then the force under the frame of some area, it becomes the pressure. So otherwise it is a force. So it means that when the surface area will be increased on the ground with the help of these base plates, then the whole load that will be distributed all across, as we had discussed, the load is distributed on the slings. So it means that the flat surface always helps to distribute the load because surface area increases.
Okay. Detailed answer from Muhammad.
Can I
Yeah, please.
actually, for heavy lifting, outrigger is compulsory. One thing, as we have seen, sky horse crane and other crane is built with outrigger. So for heavy lifting, it is compulsory.
What about normal lifting? If it is not heavy, then?
Now, in as we have seen in a crane, in modern cranes, there are automatic system installed. So a iota or a difference of 1 degree can destroy the or can spoil the system. spoil the crane operation. So I think it's wow.
Okay, good.
My
Okay,
point of view,
okay,
it is
okay. Got your point. Yeah. Anyone wants to add anything to?
Mr. Asghar, you know who was speaking?
No, this is caller two. I don't
No,
know
this
the
was
name.
Noman Adil. This was Noman Adil. I caught him.
I was about to ask his name, but okay, anyhow, I think it is.
Not boy.
Yeah, it is 9 o'clock. I think now it is time to wrap up. Anybody wants to say? Anybody has to say anything? Any good point? Something to share? Any experience? Something?
yeah, it would be hello.
Yes, please.
It would be more convenient to proceed construction safety in parts. It would be more convenient, like fall arrest separately if and other if one by one, and then it would be more convenient for all of us.
Correct. Any other suggestion? No one wants to share anything.
So we have
Then
to
I can.
thinking
Oh,
about what we are going to do tomorrow, or maybe next time. I think we need to complete our domain 2. Maybe we need
Okay.
to discuss risk management or something like that next time.
My favorite topic, project management.
No, risk management.
Okay, risk management. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what when will be the session and what will be the topic. So I think this is the time to say goodbye for today's
Okay.
session.
thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Please
Thank
give
you.
your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asghar. Thank you so much.
Thank
Very good hosting.
Thank you, Jawad. To you as well.
And sorry
Thank you.
from my end once again, gentlemen. Very sorry from my end for talking always.
No, this is good. This is good because only few people they speak, and you are one of them. So we have to speak. We have to speak more and more.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed
Yeah.
Asghar.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. Bye.
Inshallah, see you tomorrow.
See you,
Bye-bye.
inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Assalam.